Good afternoon, boys and girls. Today we are going to discuss a lesson whose name is The Enemy. This lesson is written by Pearl S. Buck. In this particular lesson, we have to see how the author has dealt with the idea of enemy, enmity, friendship, service, etc. It's a portrayal of the conflict between heart and mind. It tells about how people can help enemies on the human grounds. Hating our enemies is natural and justifiable, especially during war and conflict. It is a classic description of how human beings rise above his prejudices to help without feeling the imminent danger of sedition. Boys and girls, in this particular lesson, you will be able to understand that humanity requires one to overcome prejudices, hatred, especially against one's enemies. You will also be able to know and understand that humanity trumps the barriers of nationality and the person rises above the boundaries of nations to serve humanity. You will be able to understand the nuances of language used by the author and understand the approach of British author and American author towards dealing a particular subject and using the language. In the process of reading the chapter, we come across the following characters and their mindset. And the first of that list is Dr. Sadao, a Japanese surgeon par excellence, believing in serving the humanity at large. Next is Hana, his wife, a good, kind, humble, cooperative lady, helpful in testing time. Then we have Tom, the injured war prisoner who has been washed ashore. And of course, what to talk about General Takima. He is a very selfish character who will sell anybody or everybody for his own gain. Domestic servants are there, and in those domestic servants, Yumi plays an important role. The maid servant who served Sadao and Hana and took care of their children, she defies the order of Sadao to nurse the American soldier. She is prejudiced against white men. When we open the story, when we start the reading of the story, what do we find? We find that Hana and Sadao are standing just before their residence, and what do they see? They see a man's body has been washed ashore. Out of curiosity, they go there, and to their shock, they found that he was American prisoner of war. He was badly wounded and had lost consciousness. Sadao is torn between the duties of a doctor and the duty of a citizen. However, after much thinking and deliberation between Sadao and Hana, they decide to take the wounded soldier to their residence for treatment. Even though they faced open defiance from their domestic servants, they looked after the man. Sadao informed the general about the presence of the American prisoner of war. The general offered him all kinds of support because he himself was in trouble. He knew that only Sadao could have saved him from certain death. Dr. Sadao's indispensable status and the general's serious illness helped him get away from the fix. Finally, he could save himself and his family from embarrassment of being seditious and unpatriotic. Boys and girls, dispensable and indispensable is a word which is very important. Since Dr. Sadao was an indispensable person in the present context, we find that the general is not going to leave him. He will have his services. For that, whatever he had to do, he will do. And that is why the general is ready to do whatever Sadao wishes him to do. He was in Sadao's pocket. This is what Sadao felt. For that, we can say that people keep on talking about patriotism, nationalism, and sedition and treason. The character of Sadao is such that he cannot be blamed for being treacherous to his country, to his nation, being disloyal to his country, because he was such a loyal person. His loyalty is undoubtedly par excellence, but the loyalty of the general is under question. People in power use law for their own benefit, and this is what Paul S. Buck has very beautifully described at different places in this particular lesson. One extract I can read for you is this: I care nothing for the man, Excellency. This is a dialogue between Sadao and the general, and they are talking on this particular issue of how to deal with the war prisoner. I care nothing for the man, Excellency, Sadao said, but having operated on him with such success, he wanted to say something else, but he could not say that. It only makes me feel you more indispensable to me. This is what the general has said. Evidently, you can save anyone. You are so skilled. You say you think I can stand one more such attack as I have had today. The general seems to be very buttering in using the words for Dr. Sadao, because Dr. Sadao is in a position to help him out of his illness, because he is such a great surgeon, And one, said Sadao, the uncertainty, then certainly I can allow nothing to happen to you. The general said with anxiety, you cannot be arrested. This is what do we find here in this particular chapter about nationalism, about sedition, about disloyalty to one's country. This is clear in the nature and character of the general who has been awarded and who is a very decorated military officer. So, those decorated military officers have this kind of attitude towards their nation when it comes to them. So, the selfish nature of the general indicates that men in power interpret and execute law in their own way when it comes to them. Here, nationalism and patriotism takes a back seat. Boys and girls, looking at these particular things, we understand that our effort towards knowing our enemy, believing in ourselves, and working for the togetherness in diverse circumstances is what Pearl S. Buck is trying to suggest to us. Pearl S. Buck is an advocate of international brotherhood, international relationship, the relationship which works all together for a cohesive relationship between various countries, and this earth becomes a livable place for all of them. Today, the world is strife with war, treason, bombardment, and also natural calamities. We may not talk about natural calamities, but when we talk about the human devastation today, we find that we have to understand what this earth is meant for. This earth is meant for living together, existing together, helping together, and making this earth a livable place wherein everybody lives happily, heartily, uses the flora and fauna of this universe, of this earth rather, and helps each other in developing various sources on the earth, above the earth, and inside of the earth. The lesson may be the enemy, but the outcome of this lesson is the friendship, because Dr. Sadao, by his effort, has been able to put the man out of trouble without putting himself in trouble. So, this is what the lesson goes to the readers. The readers broadly would understand in the theory, in the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that everybody on this earth has the right to live on this earth happily. Of course, boundaries are there. One has to respect the boundaries of nations, and the others too have to give certain leniency towards those people who happen to encroach those boundaries on amicable level. By that, we shall be able to make this earth a happily livable place, and we shall be able to live together with less enmity and more friendship. Boys and girls, this much for today. When we meet next, we shall discuss the other aspect of this particular lesson. Till then, it's goodbye from me. Thank you.